Hey, ladies, welcome to another episode of the Queen Talk podcast. As always, I am super excited to come on and have this talk. Alrighty, so this Queen Talk is going to be extra special and juicy because we know that you ladies are ready to manifest your man. Right? And instead of me having this conversation by myself, because though that would be cool, this is so much better, right? I've called on my beautiful, beautiful sister Leo to come on and join me for today's talk. The benefit of our Queen Talk today is that we are coming from two different ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right. And before we jump in on the ends of the spectrum and how to manifest your man and our personal journeys and what your journey could look like, I'm going to allow Leo to introduce herself and then we're going to jump in straight from there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, beautiful. I am so grateful to be here. I'm Leo. I am a transformational coach. And what I do is I help women to get their energy right, to attract more love, wealth, and abundance in their lives. So I'm so grateful to be here.
Yes.
You know, you and I energetically align. So this is an honor for me.
Yes, it's an honor for me as well. Like this is next level talk today.
Yes, it is.
This is next level. And if you ladies are looking to take your life to the next level, know that this conversation is going to be so much bigger than manifesting your man.
Yep.
So much bigger than that. So we're going to jump right in.
Yes.
Right. All right. So this is where I think we should begin today's talk, right? About the transformation that it takes for us as women to see ourselves as worthy of attracting a positive relationship and a positive marriage. What's your point of view on that?
Ooh, so I think a lot of women feel like they have to be perfect in order to attract the right person.
Right.
And while you may still be in your healing process, you can still attract the person that you want.
Yeah.
So that's what my thoughts are. Because although in my particular situation, I was healing, I was doing the work for myself. Mm. And then energetically, the person will come.
Yes.
Because I'm already doing the work.
Yeah.
I wasn't perfect, but I was still doing the work.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about the work. Let's talk, to answer your question, what about me? Same scenario. Same exact scenario. I was doing the work, right? I can distinctly remember being in a space where I had to recognize, all right, Bree, so we'd have been talking to this dude and this wasn't what we wanted. We talked to this dude and this is not what we wanted, right? Because I feel like it looks different for a lot of people. You have some women, right, who are kind of just sleeping around with XYZ, right? And they're kind of numb to the reality that sex is so much bigger.
Right.
Right? Than just trying to get that itch scratch, that feeling satisfied, right? But then I feel like you got some women that's sleeping around, and then you have the other ones who recognize, okay, so I got to be celibate for a period of time, right? I got to have some standards for myself. And that's what I went through. I had to realize, like, okay, I need to take my sexual energy and I need to shift it. And I need to put it somewhere else. And for me, I put it into growing myself and seeing myself as a queen, right? Yes. So then when you speak about doing the work, because I feel like people always say, you gotta do the work, you gotta do the work, you gotta do the work.
But what is do the work?
What is do the work? What is do the work? What would you say is doing the work?
Ooh, okay. So I'm gonna get real honest and real raw. I realized that I was the problem in what I attracted. So, and this, I'm just speaking for me, so I don't want anybody to think I'm throwing stones. I was only attracting, or I was only talking to the people that would talk to me.
Mm.
So a guy would have to approach me for me to talk to him.
Right.
Okay. And then I looked at the caliber of guys that were talking to me. And I was like, is this what I wanted? Is this what I want? No.
Right.
And so I knew I didn't want it, but I would still date it because, oh, you know, this person, I ought to give them a chance.
Oh, you was looking at their potential. I used to do that. Was it the potential thing?
Right. Why was I giving them a chance? For potential?
For potential. For potential.
And you know what else I had to learn? That I was dating one person at a time.
They're not gonna like
one person at a time. Yeah. So all I had was this view of this one person and this point of view. And I'm trying to make it work with this person because this is, out of all the people that tried to talk to me, this one had the most, who looked the best on paper.
Right. You know, men date multiple women at a time. When men are in search for their wives, they date multiple people at one time. And I was guilty of the same thing too. You know, in the social culture, they call them situationships.
Yep.
I was guilty. Girl, I had a situationship for almost 2 years.
Really?
And when I tell you, I was having a blast. In his words, we were just having fun.
Yeah.
When I tell you, over at my house, we chilling like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. When I tell you we're going on expensive dates, I'm getting introduced to the friends. Everything is a freaking blast. We never argued, but he wasn't my man.
Mm-hmm. He made it very clear in the beginning, right?
Right. But what did I do? Like you said, I was only dating one person at a time. So at that point in my head, it's just like, well, maybe he'll see how great I am.
Right. Maybe he'll see my potential and want to.
Nah.
Jumping through hoops.
Not the jumping through hoops. That's how it was though. And it's so funny because one thing that I've recognized in that space was that you got to be very clear in the beginning about what it is that you want. And it's oftentimes, as women, we don't know what we want. You ask a woman, okay, so you say you want a man or whatever. Okay, so tell me what you want from him. Well, he need to have a good job, you know, maybe his own business, his own place, his own car. It's giving bare minimum.
The bare minimum. I just need him to be breathing.
He ain't got to be breathing, sis. He can be on life support. I just got to be able to call him mine.
Right.
And what does that say about us?
Oh, I was about to say, what does that say to the universe? God, you asking God for the bare minimum, and that's what you get.
That's what you get. It's what you get. And I think that sometimes we don't take into consideration that what you ask for is what you're going to get. Even if you're asking for it subconsciously, if you haven't taken the time to really figure out what it is that you want as a woman, you're just going to get whatever comes to you, whatever subconscious thoughts that you have inside your brain, that's what's going to be attracted to you. And when you operate from a mindset of not knowing what you want, if we're keeping it so 1,000 right now, 9 times out of 10, the subconscious thoughts are negative.
Yep. Or let's think about it this way. I loved how you said that. We know what we don't want. So I don't want nobody.
Think about all day.
And you know what the subconscious does? It doesn't know whether it's negative or positive. So all it hears is you saying, I don't want this. So what do you get? Somebody with this. I don't want somebody with a whole bunch of baby mamas. And then what do you get? Somebody with a whole bunch of baby mamas. That's all this coming to you. And you're like, dang, what is going on?
Well, I thought I said I didn't want that. Yeah, but you also didn't say what you did want.
What you did want, that's what you should be focusing on.
That's all
Not
you
what you
should be
don't want.
focusing on. Facts. Facts. And recognizing too, because I feel like women, it's so funny how we do this. We want the man to be top notch. For the ones who think they do know what they want, we want him to be top notch, perfect. What about you?
That's a good thing to think about.
What about you? You want him to live in a mansion. You want him to drive a drop top Lamborghini, Bugatti, Maserati, right? You want him to be a CEO of a company. You don't even have no business about yourself. Why would a man of a particular caliber or vibrational frequency want a woman who is not operating on the same vibrational frequency? That doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's a very interesting point.
Right? And then when you even think about it, that's the reason why. Because I feel like one thing I had to learn as I was going through that celibate journey was my own standards and my own boundaries. Right? And how I started to look at it as standards are up and down, boundaries go out.
Okay.
Right? So as I started to ask myself, okay, Bree, what would you like for him to have? What would you like for him to have? What would you like for him to have? And as I got right there, I realized if I wanted him to have, because this is the half part, it should always be principles and personal characteristic types, right? So if I wanted him to be compassionate, shouldn't I work on my compassion? If I wanted him to be affectionate, shouldn't I work on my affection? And so that as I took it up right here comes the boundaries. I meet a guy, you're not compassionate, skirt. You're not affectionate, skirt. And I could put that boundary out there like that because I've been working on those same things that I wanted myself.
And I love how you said that energetically. These are the emotional things that people don't think about. They think about the physical or the financial things, but they don't think about the emotional things and just working on those emotional things yourself. And I really think that is amazing. Another thing that I forgot what I was going to say, but what I think one of the things I wanted to talk about was God is not, or universal, however you call it, is not going to drop a guy out of the sky. So all you do is go home and go to work and go home, go to work. And so that's when you think God is going to send you somebody in between going home and going to work. You actually have to go and put yourself in these positions where you're going to meet those guys.
Facts.
You got to go out there. You got to put yourself out there. And yes, it's a vulnerable thing to put yourself out there and to be seen and to be noticed and to have conversations. Yeah. But this is how you grow.
You're telling me that he's not just going to be in the bathroom when I get home? I actually have to put myself out there.
Right.
Right. And it's crazy because I find that women who are fearful to put themselves out there is because they lack self-confidence. Big solar plexus energy, right? Big blockage in the solar plexus energy. You lack the self-confidence. You lack the willpower to actually put yourself out there. But I truly believe that if it's a block in the solar plexus right there, we still need to go back to the sacral chakra. Who are you?
Who are you?
Who's your identity? Who are you? Who will you show up as when you do put yourself out there to meet your mate? Who are you showing up as? Because when you are strong in who your identity is, you're not going to be fearful to put yourself out there.
At all. And I love how you brought up the sacral chakra. And one of the things I wanted to talk about and why celibacy is important and how it coincides with the sacral chakra is that it's all about pleasure with the sacral chakra. And you cannot look, and this is going to be, we might have to do another show on this one. You cannot look for a man to please you. And that means in any way. You have to know what you like. You have to know how to please yourself because you'll be constantly depending on men to please you.
Let's dive a little bit into that. When you say, because I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, right? But for the ladies listening in, what realms of pleasure or pleasing are you talking about when a woman should know how to please herself?
That could be that's a good question. That could be everything. What do you like to do? How do you like to have fun? Do you like to go out? Do you like movies? Do you like skating? That's a pleasure.
Facts.
Also, pleasure is, what do you like sexually?
Right.
Do you know these things?
Right.
Is your sexual pleasure dependent on having that person?
Right.
That is a huge responsibility for men to have.
Right.
You have to know within yourself how to please yourself, because if you don't, you're going to be constantly looking for somebody else to please you.
Facts. It goes to the validation. It goes to the validation. But one thing I want to touch on, they ain't going to hear this one maybe. I want to talk about women pleasing themselves and the masturbation part. I want to get into that. That's why I love the fact that this is my freaking Queen Talk podcast. I can talk about whatever I want, and
right.
They kick me off, right?
Yes.
I think that while it is important for a woman to know how to please herself, if we're talking about from the sexual realm, I feel like as women, you must know the line and the barrier of knowing when you are taking masturbation too far.
Okay.
I feel like using toys as a restriction against having a man, you're gonna numb yourself.
Oh yeah. That does. Okay.
You know, you're gonna numb yourself to a man actually being able to please you, right? You've been using toys for 2 years straight. I don't need no man. As soon as you use that toy, you having an orgasm in 5 minutes. So then when you sleep with a man or you get a man and that man is interested in foreplay and he's interested in talking to you and stimulating your brain before he ever even gets inside your panties, you're not going to know how to connect on that level because they've used the I could just please myself type thing. I don't need all that time. I just can do this real quick.
Ooh,
You taking
that's a good
the human
point.
experience out of it. Oh, that was just a little snippet on that.
What is it? You know what? You need to do a show on that. Because people need to talk about that. That you can overindulge in a lot of things, and it can make you numb, or it can make you unavailable for when you actually do meet your mate.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to asking you, how did you attract your spouse?
All right. It just brings me so much joy to talk about it. It just brings me so much joy. So before I talk about where we met, I want to talk about the how, like you said, right? First things first, like I said, it was me putting my energy back into me, right? That was the first thing, and recognizing that I was okay with going on this self-searching journey. Right? It started with that. Then it led into, like I said, me recognizing my standards and boundaries that I would have to operate off of in order to be able to increase my discernment on what the right partner would look like for me, right? Not what my homegirls thought would be best for me, not what my family thought would be best for me, what I actually knew would be best for me, right? And after that, I had to make a list.
That's what I wanted. Woo, that's what I'm getting to.
I had to make a list of what I was looking for. of what I was looking for. So then that way, as I dated multiple people, as you stated, so powerful, y'all. Y'all heard Leo say it on here today.
Mm-hmm.
As I dated multiple people, I could then compare my list to these people. So then that way I didn't get caught up like I did in that past situationship of, because I didn't have a list of what it is that I was looking for, I was just hoping for anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's the list.
And just accepting anything.
Yes, ma'am, accepting anything. Yeah. How you feel about the list? Talk to me about the list.
I love the list. The list is, you know, a lot of people don't believe in the list, and I'm a firm believer in the list.
Yep.
I was, the difference between us is that I was dating, I was divorced with children.
Yeah.
When I met my spouse. So I was divorced. And so when you experience a divorce, you feel like a failure. And then to have kids on top of it, you feel like a double failure, because now you have to navigate who you are and what you want, along with having kids. So, you know, any of the women that might be listening that might say, oh, you know, I'm divorced and I have kids, it can still happen for you. So exactly. So getting back to what you were talking about is the list. And it was me like on this journey of, okay, I dated and I know I don't like this. I don't like this. So let me sit down and think about, what do I like? I made a list of the things that I wanted in a partner. And then I energetically felt it in my head, like how it would be to have this person.
Yeah.
What it would be. You know, you have to, not only do you have to just look at this list, but you also have to feel it. You put emotion behind. It's not just a list. People just think, oh, I just make a list and just throw it away. No, you have to energetically take this in. How would I feel dealing with this person?
Facts. Facts. Facts.
And so
I have a question. For the divorced women listening to this, right? Because of course this message is universal, whether they listen to it right now or they listen to it 5 years from now, right? Somebody's going to hear this message. When you talk about the list, let's go back to tying that into the mindset of what I don't want. When you were making your list, I can bet that it wasn't, well, I remember in the marriage or whatever that he was like, so I don't want Did you operate from a mindset of comparison? Did you operate from a mindset of just using your experience to now know what it is that you want? Like, how does the list and the reality of the divorce, what's that look like?
Ooh, that's a great question too. From that experience, I realized what I did want and what was lacking in that relationship. I decided this is what I want to focus on in the next relationship. Not necessarily the negative part where it was like, I don't want no man who blah. I was like, well, I want my next husband to have this. I want my next husband to have this. And I want my next husband to have this. And see how that sounds compared to I don't want. You know what I mean? And that's what I focused on. I didn't focus on all the negativity of my marriage. It ended. And you know, marriages and divorce is very difficult, but you have to make peace with it.
You have to make peace with it. So let me ask you this. After divorce, like, okay, so you were in that space, you recognize, okay, this marriage is coming to an end. Did you have the mindset right after divorce that you knew?
Not.
Okay. Did you?
Not. Girl, I don't know about all these women, because it might be some women, if you're divorced or you've been in a long-term, you know, relationship with one person, you're going to have the same, or most of the women have the same things that I had. I was doing wife things for guys that I had only known for 2 weeks. So I'm washing clothes and getting food ready and making lunch. And then I had to sit and think, like, I don't even like you. I don't like you. Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this? For a man,
Like, let's be honest, some women, and it's some women, and I have to admit that I was one of those women. I would date a guy and I would want to be intimate. So I'd ignore all the other stuff and just be like, okay, I'm going to pretend that I like this guy so I can have the intimacy.
right?
I know a lot of women won't admit that, but I did.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't even like you as a person.
right.
Why am I doing these things?
To
And that's
feel
because I
that, to
didn't value
feel
myself.
exactly, to feel valuable,
Mm-hmm.
feel like, well, if I do these things for him,
I'm showing my worth. Look at me. This is the worth Olympics.
worth.
Look at me.
I can wash your clothes. I can
I'm worthy.
cook.
It's like, girl,
Does he even see you as the wife?
right.
Did you even talk about that? That was the part that was me. I had to, it was when this, for me, that Rich and I connected. I had to come to the freaking realization that I never even talked about what I wanted in the beginning with the guys that I was dating to even set the standard of what it is that I wanted. I've been going through these relationships of I'm going with the flow. I'm just gonna see how it
We
is.
just
See
gonna
how
kick
it
it.
is. We just gonna
Mm-hmm.
kick it. And it was when one of my good girlfriends, Jennifer, really awoke in my mindset to say, Bree, no, you have to go into it. And if you say you're looking for marriage, if you say you're looking for something serious, and he say, well, I mean, I ain't really looking for that right now. You know what I mean? Or, I mean, we can see how things
We see
go.
how it goes.
See how it goes? No.
No.
A man, the man that is a husband, is looking for a wife.
And it's not going to make you jump through hoops.
Mm. Mm. He's not gonna make him jump through hoops. He's gonna already know what it is that he is looking for as well. That's why it's so powerful to have the list. Both people have to recognize, I know what I want, you know what you want. And that's how Rich and I end up getting married so fast. Like, we met each other December the 21st. We met each other on Tinder.
Oh,
Right? Which goes back to what it is that you were saying earlier. You have to put yourself out there.
yeah.
I distinctly remember when I got back on Tinder in October, I told myself, I said, you know what? He's not going to be in the bathroom, right? He's not going to be in the backyard. I had to come to the realization because we like to do this. When I don't go out, and when we say go out, only thing we think about is clubbing. That's the
Clubs.
only thing we think when we think about going out. So I had to recognize I'm putting so much energy into my business. I really, everything I do, I really kind of like was doing it by myself, right? So I did love to go to the park and sit at the park and, all that type of stuff like that. But then I recognized Tinder is a dating app. I'm ready to date.
Right.
Right. And of course, I had friends who were like, well, I don't know. And I remember, I still remember my friend Jennifer told me, she was like, I mean, not trying to say you can't find anything on there or whatever, but the odds are very slim. I operate off of the odds are very slim. I like to think of myself as that type of person who, if it's that 1%, I can get the one.
I love that.
Right. I can get the one. And so I was intentional, very intentional, when I went on that app to say, I'm fully aware that it's going to be men on here who's going to play with me. I remember a guy was like, have my baby. And we was 4 messages in. Right. But I had standards and boundaries that I had been working on for the past 2 years. Then now that I had the list, I had the standards, I had the boundaries. I was able to, nope, you ain't the one. 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 And then when him and I matched and connected and we talked, I was able to be like, huh, huh, huh. And I remember when you and I talked, and I want you to talk about this, when you were saying about the list for your husband. Talk to the ladies about how you and your husband met. And I remember you saying that he didn't have, quote unquote, or possibly didn't have all 10 things on the list.
No.
Tell him about the connection.
Okay, so I'm a little different. I met my husband on Facebook in a Facebook interest group. So it was still networking, but in things that I was interested in. So my husband was so busy that he wasn't even thinking about, I don't want to say dating, but I was not in his peripheral. I had to make myself notice, like, hey, and then he did the rest, but I had to get in his view, so to speak. And when we're talking about the list, I had this list, and I was, chatting with people online, and my husband didn't have all the things on the list, but the most important things that he had were the principles and the moral things that I needed and the grounding things that I needed.
Right.
And so the other things came, and I don't want people to get so rigid about their list.
Right.
Because some of the things you think you want, you really don't want, or you don't need.
Facts. And recognizing that you're not going to get your exact person. Your person, Rich and I are so much alike, but then yet there are still things about us that are so different.
Right.
So different. Like, it's like a paternal twin. Like, it's like that. But I want to jump back to something that you said about you had to make yourself seen in his point of view. I want you to explain to the ladies how that does not mean, ooh, look at me.
No.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't that.
It was more of a gentle introduction of myself and interactions through that way.
Yes.
Of just having conversations.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had to be the first one to say hi. I had to hop in the DMs.
Oh,
shoot my shot. You know what I'm saying?
It's getting that furry, sis.
Yes, because honestly, and let me tell you, good men are probably just as hurt as you and are keeping their heads down and focusing on their goals. They're trying to heal themselves to attract a better person.
Right. Right.
So I'm not saying, some women think that when you say, oh, hop in the DMs, it was like you're taking over his job. No, I just had to make myself known and put myself in his presence to see that, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women are like, and I'm gonna just jump off topic real quick, because women are like, oh, why do the basketball players go for those type of women? Because those type of women are being seen. Where are you? Are you at the game? Can they see you? Where are you?
Right.
Where are you? Those women are there.
Right.
They can see them. And sometimes when a man is so focused
on providing, because that's what we want him to be doing, working and providing, you have to make yourself seen. Talk to the ladies about the balance between when you made yourself seen of the feminine energy that you had to operate off of, because a real divine masculine is looking for divine feminine.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. So when I talked to him, I'm trying to think. I talked to him and, the conversation just flowed. The conversation just flowed. And we were actually out of state. So we were dating long distance. And then when we finally met up, it was that connection that allowed me to be feminine. So I have to be honest, where I wasn't sure that I could operate in my divine femininity until I did the work. But not only that, I found somebody who could operate in the masculine.
Yeah.
And you'll know when you start dating them, when you start going out on these dates, how do they treat you?
Yep.
You know, but there was some struggle with that. I have to admit, there was some struggle when you are a woman that is so hell-bent, or you grew up operating in the masculine.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that there's not challenges, but when you meet that right person, that wall comes down.
Yes, it does.
And you realize that you can be safe.
Yes.
And that this person is a provider and a protector. And it's okay to operate in the divine feminine. And I'm telling you, ladies, it is so much easier. I never thought I was Miss Independent. I'm paying for half the bill. Listen, you're not going to say, you know, I'm paying half. Or I got this. I might take you out on a date.
Because I don't want you to think that I ain't got it.
I ain't got it. Right. That was me.
Thanks.
I'm going to do it myself because I don't want to ask anybody for help.
How masculine.
How masculine is that? And now that I'm able to operate in this feminine energy and this softness, and not meaning that I'm not like tough, or I'm very, I want to describe the word different than soft, but I'm able to just exist.
Yeah, but I love the word soft. I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying soft, because as women with the culture, we want to be so hard. So right. Then when we go to soft, we try to compare soft and weak.
Yes.
Soft and weak are two different words.
Two different words.
A man is looking for us to exude the softness. He wants that. He wants the energy of, I can be the tough guy. And of course, even in that, right, you don't want to call in a man who is so hard that he can't be soft himself. But right. in a positive marriage, it takes the man being able to be hard and soft, and the woman being able to be soft and hard at the same time. So then that way, both people can merge together. And like you said about how when you come together with that person, there's going to be challenges, right? So like you were saying, you were willing to pay for half. Mine, for me, I never forget it, and it's still so relevant right now in my marriage. Rich, he's going to open the door, right? And I remember when we first got together, he was saying he had a girl or whatever that, you know, he dated for a little period of time, and she was pressed on, I can open my own car door. I don't need you to open my car door. I can open it. He cut her off. She wasn't the wife. He saw it right then and there. And sometimes as women, we don't recognize you're going to lose out on your husband trying to be so hard.
Trying to be so hard.
The man wants to be a gentleman. And a gentleman.
What would that have done? What would that have done? Would it have diminished her value or something because somebody opened the door? Allow people to be nice to you. Allow people to do things for you. When you operate in your divine feminine, you allow that masculine to do things. You don't have to do everything yourself. And that is so important for us to learn. And, you know, my husband is my absolute, like you said, yours is your best friend. My husband is my best friend. I can talk to him about anything.
Yep.
And, you know, one of the things that wasn't on the list, he's an introvert.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm big and social, and he's an introvert, but it works. You know what I mean? And God, I just want that for everyone, to be able to be soft. This is the year to be soft and feminine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be at peace.
Yeah.
You know, and to just be loved on. Allow yourself to be loved on.
Yeah.
Without conditions.
Without conditions, because one of the seeds that I planted when I knew that I was getting in that space where I was ready for a relationship was the seed of unconditional love. Right? And unconditional doesn't mean that he cheat on me and I'm gonna keep him.
Right.
Unconditional doesn't mean that I let him punch me on the floor and I keep him.
Right.
Right? Of course, there are conditions.
Right.
But unconditional truly means I'm not going to allow my triggers to stop me from growing with the person who wants to grow with me. Right? I'm not going to allow the way I used to operate to then now dictate how it is that I move. I used to be one of the type of girls, if we're going back to like the independent thing or whatever, oh, I don't got to deal with this.
Oh, me too. Oh, oh.
Blocked.
I'm putting up with this.
I'm not putting up with this. And then you recognize, so what you gonna do? You're gonna be single, or we're gonna go back to the situationship, right? Because one thing I realized in the situationship was cool, fine, and dandy because there was no commitment. Right? So I can put up with that. We put up with the situationships because there is no real commitment. There's no real vulnerability right there. Everything was so surface level that we deal with that. But then when we run into a person who really shows us the shadow side of ourselves, it turns into, okay, hold up. Wait a minute. Did I sign up for this?
Oh no, this is, yep. Woo. You know, you didn't even realize the traumas and the triggers that you bring into, even when you think you're healthy.
That's what I think a marriage is for. I truly believe that a marriage is there to show you that side of you that only the commitment of that level of vulnerability can show you. That's why I feel like people who have been together for 10 years and are not married, in my opinion, there is no comparison to a person who is married. I don't care if you've been married for 1 month. There is no comparison because the moment you lock in, and of course people can say, well, the marriage is just the law. You're just putting the law into your business. That's your perspective. This is my perspective. When you get married, you lock into a certain level of commitment and vulnerability that energetic wise brings out a side of you that you cannot run away from, right? Nope. Unless you're a person who cool with as soon as the first argument comes, you 1 month in and now we're gonna get a divorce. But if you're really in it for the long run, the marriage will show you, Bree, this is how you act when you get upset. If Rich told me the other day, whenever you get back beside the corner or whatever, you always want to turn the situation around. Whenever you get back beside the corner, right? And so I'm like, well, what you backing me inside the corner for, right? Like,
and you know what? You learn how to having healthy argument.
Facts.
Healthy disagreements.
Facts.
Oh man, we could go on and on about this.
I'm telling you, I think when we talk about manifesting the husband, first things first is to know who you are. I'm gonna write this down so I can remember it. First things first is to know who you are. Right? And then know what you want.
Know what you want.
Know what you want. Like you said, don't focus on what you don't want. What do you want?
And be honest about it.
Honesty. And isn't that honesty so in alignment with the vulnerability?
Ooh.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that right there? Because let's say you don't care for affection, right? But I do, and we're friends. It's okay for me to verbalize, I want my husband to be affectionate with me. And even if you don't verbalize, oh no, because I don't want him kissing all over me and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm not going to then transfer my mindset and say, well, I mean, yeah, you're right. Don't be kissing all over me every time I come inside the house. If I want affection, I'm going to stand strong and be honest with myself and say, I want that. I want PDA. I want somebody who's going to hold my hand in public, who's going to kiss me when we inside the line. If you want that, you have to be honest about what you want. Yep. Yep. And then I would say the third point is know and embody the feeling. Know and embody the feeling. Like you said, because the list is not just a list.
Right.
You have to feel it.
Can we put the list in there and then embody the feeling?
I love that. Okay. Where would you say the list would go? So if we got know who you are, yes, know what you want,
then make the list of what you want.
Then make the list.
And then put that emotion behind that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think we both had to do that. You know what I mean? And you know, and even before that, when you know what you want, attract what you want. So you know what you want, then start working on yourself to attract what you want.
That's what it is. So it's after knowing what you want, you have to work on yourself.
Yes, you do. Because we say do the work, but like you said, what did that mean?
Yep. You got to do the work.
You got to do the
work. And I feel like the work as well too is work emotionally, work mentally, work physically, work psychologically, work spiritually. When we say do the work, we are talking about shifting your mindset, shifting your emotions. If this is a big one, here it is. I knew it was going to come up. If you don't find yourself attractive, do the work.
Ooh.
Do the work. Don't go around here dating. If you don't find yourself attractive, if you don't feel attractive, stop dating. Go to the gym. Go to the health food store. Go there. Don't, if you feel those things, especially physically, I have to just get on that, right? Because it's nothing wrong with wanting to be physically attracted to your partner. You should not just think in your head, well, I got to get the fat guy, because this used to be a thing too, right? I'm gonna date the big guys, because big guys, they show the most love. Nah, my man is fit.
Yeah.
And he's showing big love energy over here, right? But I remember being inside the gym. I remember eating healthy. I remember changing my diet, which changed my vibrational frequency, which changed my self-confidence. So then I no longer had to pick people who I did not find attractive, because they say that those are the people that will love you the best. Stop dating and work on yourself physically. So then that way, you will have the self-confidence to attract in the person. And who's to say you ain't gonna meet them at the gym?
Exactly. I love that. I really love that. I love that you said that.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful in doing the work. So powerful in doing the work. Because another part, when we go back to the sacral chakra, right? Your health is going to affect your sex life. It's going to affect it, right? I have a friend who used to ask me my perspective, and I want to ask you your perspective with this as well. How do you feel like the physical affects the relationship, right? Like, let's say your husband, he's an attractive guy right now, right? Physically, and then he gains this weight. He starts to gain weight. Do you feel like that will affect the marriage?
I feel like it does.
I agree.
I honestly feel like it does. And we have to be honest and say, you know, that being the physical does affect. It does affect it, you know, unless it's a health condition, you know, people try to be understanding, but
Right.
it does affect how sexually attracted you are to that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, before I met Rich, I already knew I'm not attracted to guys with bellies.
Mm-hmm.
I
The
you
dad bod, that ain't it.
you can be pregnant. I don't want you pregnant. Because if it looked like you're pregnant, here's the reality. Woman or man, if your stomach is big, that's food that did not digest.
Mm.
Right? That means that you were feeding yourself foods that were not on higher vibrational frequencies, because fruit and vegetables digest. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Which means then you were in a period, if you have that belly, that you were not loving yourself. You were feeding foods that were not good for your body. That is showing you were not having self-love. That
Right.
then inevitably will affect the self-confidence. So then now when we get together, you're not as confident. And so now I'm going to have to pay the price of that.
Mm. That's an interesting thing to think about.
That's how I looked at it. That's how I looked at it, because I see how if I start to gain a little stomach, I know how that feels. I don't ignore it.
Right.
I tap in and I say, okay, Bree,
Time to tighten up.
time to tighten up. But if you have a belly to the point where you look 8 months pregnant, you never told yourself it was time to tighten up. Right? And then when you're operating on a high vibrational frequency, you want to be with a person who can recognize within their self first that there are things within me that I need to fix. Because then in the marriage, you're not constantly having to tell your husband about himself, because he already is operating from a mindset that he knows and understands himself.
Itself. Know thyself. Yes, yes, yes.
Know thyself.
What else goes on the list?
What else goes? So then after we start to feel it, right? So we got to know who you are, know what you want, you do the work, then you feel it. You feel that, right? I feel like after you start to feel it, right? I feel like then comes the standards and boundaries.
Ooh, okay.
Now, I do want to point out, anybody listen to this, because I said I was going to write a book when it comes down to how I manifested my husband in 60 days. You're getting a free game right now.
Get it now before she, listen. It'll be yesterday's price is not going to be today's price. You better get it now.
Y'all heard that? That's the sound. The price is going up.
The price is going up.
That is the sound. I feel like it's standards and boundaries, point blank, period.
Oh, absolutely.
Standards and boundaries. And I feel like the standards and boundaries goes into knowing your worth. I feel like it's knowing your worth. And knowing your worth, I feel like the knowing your worth is, again, it goes back to, it's okay to want a person who is operating on a certain vibrational frequency financially and spiritually and emotionally.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. It's okay, because why settle?
Right.
For what?
Right. And then you'll be unhappy.
And who wants to be unhappy? Who wants to be unhappy? Nobody wants to be unhappy. I do want to ask this question. When you were in the period of right after the divorce, did you already know that you wanted to be married again?
Absolutely not. Nope. I did not.
What?
No, it was hard. And I did not want that responsibility again.
Wow.
So I had to, like, there was a separation of when I got divorced to maybe like 3 to 4 years before I even got into this relationship with my husband. So nope, I did not. I was like, oh, this is tough. This is too hard. I don't want to do this again. Mhm.
So when did you start to notice the shift? Because there's a shift. Let me write that down. There's a
Mhm.
shift.
When I started doing the work.
There it is.
When you start doing the work, then you're like, do you really not want to be married, or do you just fear? Is that a fear?
So you're saying part of the work is asking yourself those hard questions.
Those hard questions and really being vulnerable with yourself.
Yep. Yep.
Is this something that you really want, or is this a fear?
Mm.
Are you afraid of something? And that's why you're saying you don't want it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. It was me feeling like a failure. I didn't want to fail again.
Were you taking into consideration what your family or friends possibly would have thought about you if you tried again or if you failed again? Was that a thought in your mind?
Uh, yeah, but also, the fact that I got a divorce was I took that into consideration.
Mhm.
You know, I was thinking like, man, I should have stuck this out, because now I feel like a failure. I failed my family.
I was just going to ask about what do you think the ladies are thinking, or what would you say to the ladies too that have kids? So now it's that kid factor in there. What
Ooh,
would you
and
say to them?
that's difficult. But you have to realize that you're a person outside of your kids, which is a very difficult thing. So you have to, this is where that third eye comes in, where you have to be, honestly, you have to have discernment.
Mhm.
You're dating, yes, and you are dating and you narrow it down. You have to get the input of your kids. Yeah.
Wow. So are you saying, girl, I don't even have no kids, and you over here talking the talk? Okay, you're
Yes.
talking the talk. Um, are you saying before the divorce kind of started going down, you got the input of your kids of like, okay, so you see what's going on with mommy and daddy, what's your point of view? Or are you saying as a woman, the divorce kind of gets handled with you as the individual separation of the kids, and then when you start back dating, you then get the input of the kids?
I think you continuously check in with your kids. That's the tough part, because you're like, they're going through the divorce too.
Mm.
So their home is disrupted and there's a lot of emotions that they're having. And you have to let them know that this isn't your fault. Then you have to, let them know, or in the dating process, like, hey, mommy's ready to date, or however you want to have that conversation. And then, when you find someone that you like or that might be a potential, then you introduce them to the kids.
I think
But
that
you have to see how they react to kids. Is this person going to, how do they act with the kids?
mm,
Is this person going to be somebody that is good with kids? Are they a good dad? Are they comfortable with being a step parent? Because
mm,
it's okay for, single people to say, hey, I don't want to date with anybody with kids.
right.
And it's okay for you to ask for what you want,
Hmm.
because that step parent role is a challenge,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Wow.
I
Would you?
know it seems like that was a whole nother topic that we could get into, but
Yeah, but I still think it all still goes back into manifesting the man, because all women aren't coming into it single, right? Every woman that's going to listen to this pod, that's why I love how we were on two different ends of the spectrum, because that it had to be talked about on here, right?
we did the same stuff
Thanks.
to manifest.
We did
And
this.
so the same rules apply, sis. So don't make it seem like, well, I gotta,
Yeah,
same rules apply.
same rules apply. Same rules apply. So I feel like last but not least of one of the things that we're going to talk or that we're going to say on here then as well, when it comes down to manifesting the man, right? I want to get into the talk of as a woman, right? The energy that we must exude during the dating before the marriage. I want to get into that and like both of our perspectives on. We talked about it a little bit earlier too. The fine lines between we're dating, we're now having sex with each other, I'm cooking and cleaning for you, introducing you to the kids, introducing you to the family, having the conversations about when do you want to get married, expectations. What's your point of view on that as a woman?
I think as a woman, we should know we should ask those questions, but also ask it in a way, not in an interview, not an interrogation.
Mm.
I'm going to say it that way because people are going to give you the answer that you want, but their actions are going to show different.
She done said it, y'all.
So you're going to have to word it in a way so, that it comes off as just asking a question and not an interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
So people can be honest and the guard can be let down.
Yeah.
So then you'll really find out what they want.
Yeah.
If they really want it. Because you can sit down somebody and say, so tell me what you want. And they'll tell you, oh, I want a wife and I want kids and I want a dog and I want, a puppy and a cat and all this stuff, but their actions are showing different.
The actions. I think that's what I think that's it right there, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what sets people apart. The actions. What are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Are they showing up for themselves every day? Are they showing up for you every day? Right? And what would you say to the women that's scared to ask those questions?
Ask them, why are you scared? What is it that makes you afraid to ask those questions? Because that's a throat chakra.
Oh.
Communication. You have to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
What makes you afraid?
Probably that they're going to say no. You're not going to get the
answer. They're going to leave. And you have to be okay with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that would save you so much time than to rather assume or not to ask the question at all. You're worthy of an answer. Some of us feel like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat,
I don't want to upset him.
This is a good thing. I don't want to upset him. I don't want him to leave. But what about you?
Facts. That's why I feel like when you hold off on having sex, when you hold off on having sex, you can really get some straightening and some clarity. And it'd be like, well, shoot, I mean, I didn't really give him anything. Yeah, we went on some dates, and I gave my time. But because I didn't give that level of vulnerability, it's easy for me to walk away. I could think about, again, back when I was on Tinder last fall or whatever, before Rich and I got together, I went or whatever, was chilling with this dude or whatever, and we were chatting. And we were talking about how my perspective, I would not have a man with a baby and give the baby the man's last name if we're not married.
Right, which makes sense. I understand that.
So we talked about it. Him and I talked about it. Conversation still went on. Like we were just the same way you and I are still just talking. The next 2 days, he ghosted me.
See?
Right? And then came back around just like, oh, what's up? And so I'm like, what's up? I haven't heard from you in these past 2 days. So now I'm confused. Like, what's going on? Well, it's just that, the other night or whatever, when we talked, we kind of were just on 2 different pages about things. And so, I just kind of took a step back. So here I am trying to gain clarity on what it is. Now, of course, the 2 days of ghosting was enough for me. Again, I have standards and boundaries. If you can't be a man and communicate about whatever it is that I said to you that wasn't on the same page, you've already shown me who you are, right?
Yes.
But I still like to get a little clarity and understanding because, again, we had talked for hours. And you say what you said the other night, we weren't on the same page. I don't even know what you're talking about, right? That's when he explains it. And then he then says that, well, I don't really want to talk about it or whatever, because I found that with dating, this other girl that I was dating, in the beginning, when I kind of said the things that I wanted, she pretended and started pretending like that was her. And then over time, coming to find out that she wasn't. Red flags alert. First things first, I'm not her. Second thing, second, communication is key. And third things, it goes to show how, because we were talking, because we were having conversation, I was able to see that this man was not the man for me. I could have lowered my standards and values after the 2 days of ghosting me and been like, well, I feel where you coming from. If we get pregnant, you don't have to marry me.
Exactly. Yep.
And how many times in how many times in the dating realm have we questioned how things turned out, only to have to be honest with ourselves and say, you didn't pay attention to the red flags.
You didn't see the red flags.
The red flags. That's gonna be our last one too.
I love this. We could talk for hours and hours and hours. I know we have to go. So
sorry, they just had to put it on mute so I can cough. But the red flags. The red flags. Today's talk was amazing.
I am so grateful to you, Queen. I am truly, truly grateful. And thank you so much for allowing me to be in your beautiful space.
I feel the same way. And I can't wait until I come on your podcast as well, as we had already talked about too.
I'm so excited.
Share the same energy. So tell the ladies where they can find you.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at That Chakra Chick, or you can find me on Facebook at That Chakra Chick, and on what is it? TikTok. Yeah, are you on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok.
Oh my God, you need to be on TikTok. Such a fun place. And that is at LeoBMoore. LeoBMoore.
There we go.
We did it.
Beautiful. Today was beautiful. So ladies, if you're interested in manifesting your husband, right? If you're interested in manifesting your husband and you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. If you love this talk, feel free to reach out to us. If you're going to take any pointers, let us know which pointers. And if you have any questions about the pointers, reach out. True love is there in the universe for you to attract.
Yes,
just simply work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you work on yourself, you will find that everything else will naturally unfold for you. And that is the most beautiful, beautiful part.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So until next time, ladies, thank you for tuning in into this episode of the Queen Talk Podcast. And I will see you ladies later. Yay!